first of all, tell us where you're from. That's probably going to be the easiest thing to do. Tell us where you're from. We would
Yeah.
love to hear.
Texas.
Ah,
Yeah.
Natalie's
Nice.
from Texas.
Natalie, I'm
Yeah.
in Texas all the time. I just came from there and I'm going back there in 2 weeks, but I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee now. So we're up here in the mountains. It's nice and cool.
Much cooler.
Yeah. I
Texas
mean,
is going to get
the
so
first time I
humid.
came to Phoenix, it was November. And I was at the old office there and Brent and Jameel, everybody's there. And I'm like, first time in any like desert kind of area. I'm like, this is the greatest place ever. It's so brown and there's rocks. And they all turned and looked at me like I had three heads. They're like, what? You're an idiot. Come back here and
Nobody ever
try.
says that.
Yeah, I was so excited to be there in November. And I was there last July when it was 115 and people were going to the ER from falling on the ground. And
Oh,
it was a little bit warm. It was toasty.
completely different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Night and
You're
day.
right.
Night and
I
day
rented this
difference.
big Airbnb so we could have all of our clients over and it had a pool. And I was, first night I was there by myself. I'm like, I'm gonna jump in the pool. And it was like 95-degree bath water. I'm like, it was icky. It was not good.
Like a jacuzzi.
It
It
was
can
it
get
wasn't even right
so
because the
hot.
water was not moving. It was just like stagnant bath
Right.
water. And it was like 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh, okay. I was so disappointed. Just getting started. Awesome. Awesome.
Mm.
That was where I started in real estate, was at the in Orlando at the Central Florida Real Estate Investors, RIA, probably, oh goodness, 20 years ago. Way back in the day, before we had all of this, all this cool stuff here. Palm Beach
San
County. Yep.
Diego,
Yeah.
Palm Beach, oh, Arizona. Woo.
Yeah. Yeah. I lived in Delray Beach and I lived in Boynton and down in the Keys, all kinds of places. Arizona in the house representing. That's great.
Woo woo.
Nice. Come on, guys. Tell us where you're at. Let's hear it.
I know
Because it's
there's
going to be
19 of you
different.
on here, or
Yeah.
17. 17 of
Yeah.
you on here.
Yeah. We'll have more that'll be popping in.
Yeah, let us know where you're from. And certainly, as we get going, let us know if you have any questions for David or me.
Yeah.
David owns a title company in addition to Easy REI Closings. So if you have any questions related to title, closing paperwork, financing, liens, title issues, anything like that,
Mhm.
please put it in the chat and we will get to those at the end of the webinar.
Yeah. If they're complicated questions, I'll bring one of the girls in who are all smarter and much better at this than me, but I can get through 90% of your questions. Sunny San Diego. I love San Diego, man. It's always beautiful there.
But
One of,
cloudy today. Interesting.
yeah, one of my favorite places to go to.
Welcome to Closing More Deals with Outsourced Transaction Coordination. I'm Amy Waz, Product Marketing Manager for Batch Service. I'm joined today by David Olds with Easy REI Closings.
Got
Now,
it.
David owns a title company, like I mentioned before. So
Yep.
if you have any questions about the title,
Yeah.
title closings, paperwork, all that good stuff, feel free to put it in the chat. We will get to it after the webinar's over. But
100%.
this
Yeah.
whole thing, David, is a really interesting concept that
Mhm.
a lot of customers are using to grow their business. Your
Yeah.
your business is a really interesting
Mhm.
concept. So you use batch leads, you search for the
Good.
properties, you contact the property owners, you do all your marketing. And as you grow, that portion of it is going to eat up more and more and more of your
100%.
time. But once
Yeah.
you get that deal and you're ready to go, a
Yeah.
lot of people get stuck in the paperwork, and that is
Oh,
where you come in. So tell us a little bit
yeah.
about that.
Yeah. So, thank you. And also, thank you so much for having me. This is a big, big honor to be on like the Bat Show. Like I'm
We
super
love
excited.
having you.
Yeah. So, and I know we've been trying to do this for a little bit, but yeah, the one thing about investors and I don't know about everybody who's on the call. I'd love to throw it in the chat. Like, what got you interested in investing? For me, it's the most cliche thing ever. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad sitting in the airport and decided to buy it. And you know, the goal, right? The goal for all of us as investors is to help people, right? Like we hopefully you're not psychotic and you generally want to help people with their problems. But the way that we get, yeah, you needed money, right? But the
Hmm.
way that we get paid is by solving problems, right? So we have the ability to go to batch and we can pull different lists, we can list stack, we can do all of these things, right? So, who are the people that we're I don't want to say targeting, but searching out people who have problems, right? Whether it's unfortunately divorce or bankruptcy or, somebody's passed away and it's inherited or probate or bad tenants or, late on their credit card bills, like whatever that is, our job is to come in and try to help and solve that problem. So the more problems that we can solve, right, the deeper the discount we can get on that property. The two things they're very much correlated. However, on the flip side of our business, right, on the disposition side, what do we tell everybody? Well, Amy, I'm going to, sell you this property. I'm going to guarantee clear title and proration of taxes, right? Because you want to buy something with no, here's a title term for you, encumbrances, which just means liens and things like that. So that's great. So, but really, you've got two sides of the Grand Canyon, and someplace in the middle there, somebody has to fix all of those problems, right? Lost trust documents, right? Or death certificates, or, 14 heirs that have to all be gathered up to get them to sell. And, that's where I see so many investors, and after doing this for 22 years or 23 years, they really just stumble and have a hard time because none of us are born as title experts, right? Title is the weirdest thing. There are all different kinds of states. Some states have title companies, some are attorneys, some are escrow, some are abstract, and some like California are some weird combination of both of them. And then, within that, there's 32, 3,300 counties who all love to do stuff just a little bit differently. So, the thing is, what we came into this business to do was to make money and help people. And typically, most wholesalers really get charged up making the deal, right? Talking to the seller and, working out a deal and then selling that deal to your end buyer or portfolioing it, whatever you want to do. But there's no like endorphin or adrenaline rush from figuring out paperwork. And honestly, it can be a little bit of a drag sometimes because it's not the thing that we love to do. So, this is the kind of the part in the life of a transaction where so many of the deals come to die. And the reality is, like, I'm going to hit you guys with some truth here. 50% of the deals that you contract, like statistics nationwide from some of the biggest CRM providers tell us this, 50% of your deals are never going to close. The fact, right? If you're good, 70% will close, but that still means 30% of your deals are going to die. And those are deals that you bought the leads, you skip traced, you called, you texted, whatever it is, like you spent money to get those contracts. And then, even if you're great, 30 or 40% are going to die. And why
That's
why did
crazy.
they die or not close? Well, a lot of the time it's because maybe it was priced wrong or your marketing wasn't good. And I'm going to give you something at the end here to help you with that. But the other is just title issues, and they're just, every deal can be completely different. There's so many wacky things that happen because what do? We go out looking for wackiness, right? I remember when I was just working in Chattanooga here, all my deals were local and I used the same title company. And the manager of the branch where I was at, her name was Patty, and she would call me and she's like, where do you find these sellers? Where do you find these people at? I'm like, I don't know, Patty. They just answer my direct mail, or they answer my bandit sign, or whatever it was way back in the
Yeah.
day. So anyway, so working through that is just, can be a struggle, and trying to sort through title issues. It's not fun. It honestly, to me, I'm a wholesaler. I identify as a wholesaler, and it just feels like you're walking through quicksand trying to get it done. So anyways, I think hopefully I answered that question, but that's sort of the niche that we serve.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I was wondering kind of like what are the biggest mistakes you see
Yeah,
people make when they're trying to do this paperwork or
sure.
trying to navigate it?
Yeah, so many. Like there are some really big ones. One is bad paperwork. We did last year we did $238 million in closings. We handled over 2,200 files. So we've seen a lot. We see the landscape from about 40,000 feet up in the air. And bad contracts are one. People, I don't know where they download some of these goofy contracts, and just some of the provisions and things in them just honestly cause them more trouble than they anticipate.
Hmm.
Nothing is ever a problem until it is, right? And we had one of the biggest coaches and influencers in the country as a client, and he had something in his contract that was basically a loophole and allowed his seller to get out, and it cost him a $40,000 assignment fee. So we really try with our clients to go through their contracts and make sure that they're taking out kind of the silly stuff, because literally after 2,000 of these, we can spot it a mile away, like, hey, take this out, you don't need this, add this in, that type of stuff. So contracts are one. The other one is really, it's more on the acquisition side, and this is where using somebody like Batch will come into play. Is the pricing stuff or contracting stuff too high on your AB contract, or we call it contract one with your seller? Just pricing a little bit high, and being overly optimistic on what you can sell that for, because that's going to probably account for 30 or 40, 50% of your contract fallout. And then, still within acquisitions is just not asking good questions and understanding like what type of transaction you have, right? Like if you have somebody whose husband passed away and, it's in a state where you're going to have to do probate, but you put a 30-day contract on there, well, it probably can't get closed in 30 days, right? There are some things that you're going to have to do, to resolve those title issues. So those are, some of the big things. And, you know, people who aren't clients of ours, or even me when I was trying to run this as a solo operation, not keeping in touch with your seller, that's a big, big issue. And I get it. When it was me and my wife, and I was just trying to do everything and do 6, 7 deals a month. You're busy, right? So I'm doing my marketing, I'm on batch, I'm texting, I'm cold calling, I'm TTP, and I'm doing all the things.
Oh yeah.
And then I get a couple contracts, and I'm like, change from one hat to the other, and I'm on, I got leads, and now I'm doing acquisitions, and I'm, on the phone and running all over town. God, I got 3 or 4 contracts, and boom, now I'm over to dispositions, and I'm doing everything I can to sell those properties. And then, finally I get a couple buyers, and I get it to the title company, and they come back and they're like, great, we're ready to close in 2 weeks. And I call Mrs. Smith, and I'm like, good news, we're ready to close on Tuesday. And she's like, who is this? What?
Oh God.
Oh, all that paper I signed, that was a real thing? Like, I'm not packed, or even worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're a wholesaler and you pulled the same list I pulled. And I just got, did I look?
You
Uh-oh.
get so busy, you get so excited, you're just like, okay, that
Yeah.
one's done. Let's move on.
Yep. I don't know if but what happens is, somebody else maybe calls your seller, and she's like, well, I thought I was selling my house to Davey. He seemed like a nice boy,
Mm.
but I haven't heard from him in 3 weeks. So sure, I will, but I thought I was going to sell to him, but I haven't heard from him. So sure, I'll sign a contract with you. So yeah, that's definitely a big thing. And that's something that we do for our clients is we touch base with them every week and keep them, up to date. Yeah, so lots of little
That's
mistakes there that, can kind of all add up to cause your contracts to go sideways.
You mentioned something about investors aren't asking the right
Mhm.
questions when they're starting to put together all
Sure.
of this paperwork. What
Yeah.
questions should they be asking?
Sure. So, a lot of things are, if you've got, sorry, I keep looking at the wrong screen. If,
Oh, you're fine.
you're pulling it up on batch and it's like, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Smith are your owners. And then, you're only talking to, you're talking to Joey, the nephew. Well, great. Like, what is your relation? Are they alive? Can I speak to them? Are they on board? Who are the people who are going to be the decision makers? And are they signing the contract? Because unfortunately, like fraud is a real thing. At least once a week, at least once a week, we have some, wayward family member who's trying to sell a house and not cut in their brothers and sisters on the property. We had one the other day, and this guy was like, yeah, my mom and dad are dead, and I don't have any heirs. There's no brothers and sisters. It's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like it was a little weird. So one of the coordinators like just did a simple Google search and was able to pull up the obituary. And oh, well, there's all these heirs. So we, brothers and sisters. So she calls him back. Hey, what about, Bob, Penelope, Susie, and Timmy? Oh, they all live in Europe. We're like, okay, well, that's cool. We we 100% can close a deal. If somebody's in Europe, it's very simple. We'll get them to the consulate or to an embassy. We'll
Sure.
have a notary there. We'll stamp the stuff, no problem. Oh, well, they're not reachable. And then like after like the fifth time, okay, well, they're here. And because people are dopey and they think that they can sell something without getting everybody to sign off because they don't want to split the money, right? So
Oh yeah.
that's
Yep.
a very common thing. People who are unrelated to trying to sell a property that we've had people falsify IDs, all kinds of crazy stuff. So especially if you're going to buy this stuff and put it into your own portfolio, you want to make sure that you've got real clear title, right? And like even if the title company says it's good, like you don't want to do a bunch of repairs and somebody come out of the woodwork 6 months later and like snatch that property back from you.
Yeah. It's really all about doing the due diligence.
Yeah.
So I was gonna see if you had any other really complicated title situations that you've encountered
Yeah.
that would make good stories or
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's very, very, very common to do, we do a lot of deals that are probate where, just somebody's passed away. And, the challenge for sometimes we have to put two coordinators on some of these deals where we did one, maybe it was 2.5, 3 months ago now. It had 18 heirs plus a bunch of lien releases. And getting 18 heirs to do anything on the same day is like herding cats. Cats on
Oh God.
crack, in fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's always the one person who at the last second wants to, cause a fuss and I want more money. And so lots of that kind of stuff. People in prison, which actually we
Oh my
don't find it
gosh.
because somebody in prison, they're very easy to find. Like you can go to the
Yeah.
Department of Corrections and find them they're not going anyplace. If
Exactly
they're
where they are.
going, yeah, the state has a bigger problem. So lots of people in prison. We've had some stuff where I closed on one and the seller, he was an American, but he was from somewhere in the Middle East, and his wife was in Syria. So, we set it up for her to go to the embassy or consulate, whatever it was, to sign this power of attorney so he could sign for her. And we sent her all the paperwork, and she goes into the consulate, and whoever was the notary there says, "No, we don't want you to sign this power of attorney. We're going to give you this generic power of attorney." And one thing to understand, everything in title, it's an insurance business, right? Like they are guaranteeing that they're going to stand behind this paper, this title commitment that they gave you. So they like the paperwork to be exactly what it should be and what they've drawn up. So like generic powers of attorney, they don't like them. They're probably the underwriter's probably not going to approve them. And the way that we're kind of getting on a fun little tangent here, but the way that a title underwriter looks at because there's a problem with title because there's so many weird places you can go. The way that title looks at like this power of attorney where you're going to sign for your Aunt Susie. Well, they're looking at it like, why is Aunt Susie not showing up? Is she alive? Is she competent? Because the thing with the title insurance is, let's just say for simplicity's sake, it's $100,000 house, right? Well, they are saying that, hey, we're going to ensure that this transfer is free and clear, no encumbrances, no nothing, right? But if somebody comes out of the woodwork and says, oh, that power of attorney was worthless and you should have had me sign, well, now they're on the hook, right? So it's a big deal.
Hmm.
Sometimes we get clients who are like, oh, just push this through. I'm like, bro, somebody is signing their name saying that they will guarantee, your purchase. And title work is not as lucrative as everybody seems to think. Maybe there's
Hmm.
a $1,000 title policy on there, right? Well, I get 700, the title company, the underwriter gets 300. But for that 700, if I say that that's $100,000 property is good, great. If it's bad, I'm on the hook for 70,000. So that's why so much due diligence goes into making sure
Sure.
that these properties are done correctly, because I don't want to see you, or if you're the wholesaler or your end buyer, get a property and then put 200,000 into it, right? And then they go to sell it and, oh, whoopsie, we missed these things, right? Like that's how people all get
Huge.
drawn into bad lawsuits, like really bad lawsuits, because people are pissed, when they do that kind of stuff, because having clear title is so important, especially if you're selling to a rehabber. If you got something and you're selling it to somebody who's going to be a long-term landlord, you could maybe sell them something that came from a tax deed, or that's got some defect in the title, meaning something's not exactly perfect, as long as they understand what it is. um and they'll just accept it because you're buying it at a cheaper price. But somebody who's going to sink a bunch of money into rehabbing it, and then they fully expect that when they put this thing on the market and they find a buyer, that it can close. And then when that title company comes back and says, hey, there's these problems, right, like everybody gets puckered up very quickly. So very, very important to make sure that these all the title issues get cleared.
I just saw that we have inheritance are my favorite. I was just looking at the comments. Reminder
Yeah.
to everybody on this webinar, please throw your questions in the chat. We would love to answer any questions that you have.
Mhm.
Um, I I do have a screw loose. I'm in real estate and mortgage. That's pretty funny, Tracy.
No, yeah. Yeah, inheritance deals are fantastic, and I know, you guys have great lists for that stuff. But yeah, inheritance is fantastic because you've got some people who, they're left with something. They're probably not in a position to fix it up, clean it up, do any of those things. I remember when I was a wholesaler, I met somebody at their house, and like she wouldn't get out of the car. She literally rolled the window down and said, "Here are the keys. You go in and you go do it." So,
Yeah.
those are 100% great leads, but they do take a little bit more work, to get through the title process. It's not, somebody's owned it for 2 years and nothing's happened, no, nothing's been tacked onto the title that has to be cleared.
Right.
So yeah, those can be
Right.
a little clunky. So yeah.
What type of investors does easy REI closings typically
Yeah,
serve? Is it
I could tell
smaller? Is it
you.
larger?
Yeah, we have a wide variety. For us, our really sweet spot is that somebody who's doing like 2 deals a month and wants to grow. Like we really specialize in helping them scale their business. So that really encompasses almost everybody. But we've got probably 60% of our people are kind of at that small under 5 deals per month who are looking to grow. And we see that, right? We see them kind of ascending up. And then we've got the mega wholesalers, I won't call anybody out by name, but like the 50 deals a month people, the big influencers who are
Hmm.
doing 1 million deals. Like we do a lot of those people. So kind of we're at, two ends of the spectrum, and people who are growing their business in between. So yeah, we're
I
not
see we
really
got a
built for like, but
question.
yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna try
Sorry.
to that's okay. I'm gonna take a shot at
We
switching my
got
camera back to the
I'm
other.
not familiar with this. Do you handle novations?
Yes, we do novations. Fantastic. We do over 40% of our deals are novations. So probably about
Hmm.
half are straight wholesale cash deals. 40% are novations, and then the rest are broken up between sub two, creative notes, wraps, all of those types of things. So a novation is sort of the answer to I want to sell my wholesale deal to somebody who's getting a conventional or FHA, like a normal bank loan.
Okay. Okay.
So works a little different. Like you should go get training from somebody, go buy somebody's course and get the right paperwork. But it allows you, doing some paperwork where you become either you have a power of attorney or an attorney, in fact, and you're representing the seller, and it gives you the ability to put this property on the market on MLS, accept an offer on that property, and then go to closing. And essentially, instead of the assignment fee being on the buyer's side, because a bank will not pay an assignment fee, right? There's RESPA
Right.
law, there are laws about banks of what fees they can pay. So that fee flips over to the buyer side, and it becomes a marketing fee. So
Okay.
very common, lots. It's really blown up in the last few years. Coaches like Corey Geary, Eric Brewer, Rich Wonder really, have really just blown this up. And yeah, so anyways, 40% of our deals are done are novation type, files. But they're very complicated in that it's different than a cash deal, right? So in a cash deal, it's you and me, and we're going to run down to the investor friendly title company, and we're going to get this thing closed. And if something happens and I got to move title companies, you're an investor, you're probably going to be cool with it. Very, very different with a novation, right? A novation, I'm selling to a retail buyer, right? And I've got a
Hmm.
retail cash or a retail agent, realtor involved. And a lot of times I didn't control the title company. So there's a lot of variables in there, right? So, if you say the wrong thing or send the wrong piece of paper to these guys, it can really, guys and gals, right? It can really spook them. And, we've had so many clients come to us who are like, dude, 70% of my novations aren't getting closed. I don't understand what's going on. And we're like, oh, tell me what you're doing. Boom, boom, boom. There's your problems. Let us take this over. One, because you don't have time to be messing with this. Go get more deals. Let us get these things closed for you. And novations have such a high, like the spread on them can be so much bigger because, in a wholesale deal, right, I'm selling to an investor and I have to leave enough meat on the bone for them to fix it up and then resell it.
Hmm.
If on a novation deal, and you can't novate every deal, but I'm selling to a cash or sorry, I'm selling to just, like a homeowner who's just going to get a basic loan. And, maybe I have to give them a 10% discount and they're thrilled to death. So anyways, I just much bigger spreads on novation deals. That's why they become so prevalent lately.
Do you specialize in any one type of deal
Me
or
personally, or our company, no,
all of the above? Yeah, because you mentioned novations and that like
yeah,
40% of it
yeah.
of your business is novations. I
Yeah.
didn't know if there was like another type that you
Those are the
specialize in.
big straight cash deals are huge. Novations are really big. But we do a lot of work with like the sub two community and the note people who write notes and do all sorts of wacky, kind of crazy stuff. Eddie Speed and some of the other, kind of coaches and influencers out there. So we do lots of different deals. But no, primarily those are the two big ones, wholesale and novations. Those are really, really big. And then probably the third one after that would be creative sub two type stuff. Yeah.
Somebody just asked, Daniela just asked about raw vacant land.
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, I'll tell you, vacant land can be as screwy as anything. You would think because it's just land that there's no
Right.
issues. Well, here's the trick about land. We work with a lot of the big land coaches. Is this, the land, the parcel, right, has been, it's been kind of sitting out there for a while and been passed from one person to another, right? Like just, I've got two pieces of land that I inherited in Ocala, Florida, that have literally just been sitting there for like 35 years. And, what can happen with these is liens get on them, tax liens, garbage code enforcement stuff. Like land can pile up and have a lot of weird stuff. And, you think you inherited it from Uncle Bob, but now there was
Mhm.
no probate done, so we got to go backwards in time and clean up Uncle Bob. But what about Aunt Susie and their three kids? And like land can be as complicated as anything else. Um, Easier to get people to agree to sell it to you because there's less emotional attachment. But on the title side, it can be just as goofy. So yeah, we do lots of land.
It
Was
says,
to answer the question.
she says huge HOA backed up dues.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting. So you got to, and that's one of the things that we do for our clients is we open a file. So for us, like let's talk a little bit about easy, the way that we work. If
Mhm.
if you've got a property under contract and you're our client, I want that contract the minute you have it signed, with Mrs. Smith, right? I want you, it's working with us, it's I'm not that smart, so I made it to work for me and my friends. But you can literally drag and drop that PDF over and give me the seller's information. It's going to come to us. It's going to get assigned to one of our coordinators and to the right title company. But Claudia is going to call up Mrs. Smith, right? Hey, Mrs. Smith, this is Claudia. I'm working with Amy on your deal over here at 123 Main Street. Hey, Mrs. Smith, I'm going to be your point of contact from here all the way to closing. So you're out. Like, go get your next deal, go sell your deal, whatever. Then she'll continue on. Hey, Mrs. Smith, I'm going to need to collect some information for our title company so that we can get you paid just as quickly as possible, right? Because that's what everybody wants, right? We understand that we've got to move them along, and the biggest motivation for them is generally getting paid. So great. So tell me a little bit about your property here and what's going on. So we'll start to ask all of the questions until, basically we're looking for problems, right? So, I want to know, did somebody die? Is there a bankruptcy? Is there probate? Are there liens? Is there a tenant? Great, there's a tenant. Let me collect all of that information. So sort of every question that we're asking, we're trying to find all of the rest of the answer. So for us, again, I want that contract just as quick as possible because I have to assume that tomorrow you're going to dispo this property, right? So as soon as you send me that dispo contract, like I'm ready to go. Boom. I want to get this thing to our title company or to one of our partner title companies so I get you paid just as quickly as possible. So everything that we do, in our company, like we're just trying to compress time, right? From the moment you have that under contract to the moment that, you're getting paid, we're trying to shrink that down. And the way I explain it to people is, have you ever gotten in your car, Amy, and you're like, put in GPS and it's like 2 hours and 12 minutes. What's the first thing you think of? I could beat that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't. It's very bad, but that's exactly what all of us think, right? So, that's what we're always looking at those KPIs in our company, like how long, between all the stages of title. So we're always trying to condense that up and get our clients paid a little bit quicker.
I was gonna ask you another question, but I forgot. It had to
Yeah.
do with
I
how you
ramble
guys
a
are just
lot.
saving people time and condensing
Yeah.
that time. And let me
Yeah.
go
My
look at
problem
my
is you
notes.
ask me a question, I'll answer three things and put us off on a different road.
But that's good. That's how these things work,
I
right?
guess. Yeah. Right.
Um, I had a note about, how can investors really maximize their profits, but I feel like that might be a little bit too vague. I don't know if there's something specific like tips or tricks or
Yeah.
anything like that that you can offer.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the way that you maximize your profit is leverage, right?
Mm.
Certainly, let's just talk about batch, right? Certainly, you can go down to the county courthouse and maybe convince somebody to give you a copy of all the properties, on some CD, Excel, macro, whatever computer thing, and download it all to your computer and make your own software to sort through it all and figure out that you want properties that were bought between 5 and 10 years ago that are 2 stories that are owned by somebody over 70 years. You can do all of that yourself, right? But we go to batch because boom, because they've got this ready. And I can literally pull that list in 30 seconds, right? So that's leverage. Because the only thing that we really have is time, right? So
Right.
yeah, you could spend the next 3 weeks going to pull a list, or I could go to batch and pull it and be done with it, right? I can go sort of figure out how to change my oil. I'm going to run to Advanced Auto Parts, get the the oil and the filter, right? And then I'm going to crawl under my truck and get stuck like Winnie the Pooh and just see my legs kicking down there, right? And then I realize
Wiggle around.
I got the wrong, filter, and I'm going to run back, and I've wasted a whole day doing this, or I could be at the 15-minute Jiffy Lube, right? It's all
Right.
about time and leverage, right? So, how serious are you about this business? How much do you want to grow what you're doing? And that's what we do, right? Certainly you can muddle your way through title issues, right? It's a lot of Googling and it's a lot of like asking questions, but what's the cost of your time? What's the cost of those lost deals, right? So, when I was first starting, I was fixing and flipping on Orlando from 2002 to the end times in 2009 when the market crashed, and then and it was bad. And we came to Chattanooga, Tennessee. We came here strictly for real estate. So out of desperation, I had to start wholesaling. So I was getting these deals, and I would go down to my local investor friendly title company, which was First Title, right downtown. And these were like the investor people. So I would go down there, and they didn't really understand like what wholesaling was. We had to sort of teach them a little bit, but I'd go in and I'd be like, hey, I got a new contract, and I would go to their attorney, and we called this guy Dr. No, because I'm telling you, it felt like everything was freaking no. I'm like, hey, I got this deal, and Jeremy would look at it and be like, man, dead person. Like, yeah. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, that's what my coach told me to do, right? Go find dead people in probate, right? Oh man, you're gonna
Right.
have to send this to a probate attorney, and it's probably gonna be 6 months, and like literally Dr. No. So I'm like, oh,
Great.
you know, well, that was 12 grand, like down the tubes, right? And this kept happening just over and over and over again. Like whatever the situation was, right? All the problems that we go out and search. Oh, you need a super quiet title. Oh, this is in bankruptcy. We can't close it. Oh. And finally one day, I mean, I remember this clear as day. I went in there and I'm like, new contract, and starts this nonsense with me again. I'm like, dude, come on. I just came from this woman's living room. I told her we're gonna figure this out. Like, there's got to
Right.
be a way to do this. He's like, well, I'm like, what would you do? Like, if you needed to close this, what
Mm.
could you, right? Like, and this, I remember a mentor of mine told me, ask better questions. Better questions get you better answers. So I'm like, what would you do? And the answer was, well, I guess if you get this and the other thing and these two affidavits, I can close it. I'm like, bro, how many of these contracts have I thrown away in the last year where we could have done something, right?
Right.
So, it's those deals that I see people losing, right? Because they don't understand how to ask the right questions. They're not at an investor friendly title company. They're just going down to the place on the corner, or, they went to, some Facebook group and said, I need a title company in West Virginia. And some goofball gives them, just some rando place. And you're going there and you're literally trusting these people with 10, 20, 30, 50, $60,000 of your money, and they don't care, right? Let's be honest. Our business is the worst business in title, right? Because what do we do? Right? It is like don't delude
Yeah.
yourself, like, and think that we're God's gift to title companies. We are not, right? Because we're the riskiest business there is. I own a title
It's
company. I get it,
complicated.
but what do? We bring them problems. We bring them all these problems that have to be sorted out. So we are not their favorite, you know, and also we have very lower price properties, right? Like we're buying stuff at a discount and selling it at a discount. So it's not like they're
Right.
making money on title fees or title policies. They're making, honestly, title companies make between $600 and $800 on a file when it's all said and done on an average. So they're looking at your nonsense that you brought in, or all the stuff the realtors have brought them, that were sold 3 years ago and had clear title 3 years ago, and they're going to be easy peasy, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so they're not loving working with us, right? Should they? Of course, because we're awesome and we're investors, and we're helping we're helping everybody, and we're cleaning up neighborhoods, but like
Oh yeah.
we're a pain in the butt. So and most wholesalers are investors. They're new, they don't understand how to solve title issues. So the title company's like, yeah, here's this list of stuff, go figure it out and come back, right? And that's where, if it's us, one, we close so many deals that are very responsive to us, right? Like when we call people, and like they hop to because they want the 40 deals that we're going to send them a month, that particular title company. Two, like when they get the file from us, it has all that information from Mrs. Smith, so we're teeing it up for them on a silver platter. So this is what I tell people, like, you're going to get more of your deals closed. Like these deals that are dying because somebody's telling you, like, Dr. No, this can't be closed. Like we can close the majority of those. Are some
Your
just a
doctor,
rat
yes.
nest? Yeah, we're Dr. Yes, right? We're the easy button, wherever it's at here.
Yeah.
Can we close everything? Of course not, right? Some are just a mess, but even if we get those properties, we'll call you back as the client, go, hey, Amy, yeah, this one does need a suit for quiet title. Here's what we're going to do. First off, go get your seller, add 6 months, get an extension for 6 months, call your buyer, get an extension. Let's get time. And then we'll work with
Mhm.
your seller and say, hey, here's an attorney, contact them. Let us put you in contact. Here's what you need to do. Here are the steps. So you can keep doing what you're doing, right? And instead of throwing this deal away, we'll in the background be working it all the way to fruition for you so you can get paid. Is it going to be quick? No. Sometimes there's not a fast answer, right? But
Mhm.
again, after thousands of these files, somewhere 4,000 files since we started, like we get it. Like we know the answer if it's a closable deal. And there is the 1 or 2% of the time where we're just gonna be like, dude, the juice isn't worth the squeeze here. Like, here's
Right.
how we do it, but honestly, you got a $6,000
Gotta
deal.
get it out.
You cut
Yep.
this. It's just not worth. It's just not worth it. So that's what you get when you work with us. It's just literally, it's like working with you. Like you are the experts at data. We are the experts at title.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned timelines.
Yeah.
Rihanna asked a great question. What
Okay.
does the standard timeline look like from under contract to close of escrow?
Different for everybody, but I'll tell you our clients are about 43 to 45 days right now, which is about 10 days quicker than not using us. So different in every state. Go to New York, do not put anything less than 90 days on your contract because it's crazy, right? That's a different state. That's a state where both people have to have attorneys and they get paid by the word and by the hour, right? So nothing is fast. I remember in the early days, one of our first deals in New York, it had because our coordinators, they were like counting. We were over 200 emails back and forth between a bunch of attorneys and their paralegals, and like it just seemed to be they were paid by the email, I think. So there are some states that are going to be very long. Tennessee, where I'm at, like man, if you got clear title, we can close it in like 10 days or less, right? So it depends, unfortunately, is the answer. Every state's going to be just a little bit different. How cooperative is your seller, right? Like
Hmm.
our company, we can do amazing things. Like I can solve almost literally any problem as long as everybody's participating, right? But we get a couple dead people and you got three brothers and sisters or 4 or 5 brothers or sisters or more, and one of them decides to be a holdout. Like we have a problem. Like I can't send somebody over there, Johnny Knuckles, to, take them in the back room and, rough them up a little bit and get them to sign the contract, right? There are just some things where it's just a struggle. Can I tell you what to do there? Sure. We can petition the title. You can buy 4/5 of the property. Then you can have an attorney, go to court and force the sale. Like there's always an answer. Is the juice worth the squeeze though? But 3, 4,000 files, we'll give you what that answer is, and then you decide, and it's your business. Do you want to go through this?
Tracy is actually asking a great question.
Love it.
You talked a little bit about who you serve,
Yeah.
but what do your subscription models look like? What does your,
Yeah.
charging per transaction, what does that look like?
So we have lots of clients who are at lots of different levels, right? So I can't charge the person doing 2 deals a month the same thing I charge the guy who's doing 40 deals a month, right? So we work on a subscription model. So we have lots of different levels. Very low, like hiring us for the lowest level, it's less than $500 a week. Like you couldn't hire the girl who dunks fries in the oil for what you're going to pay us, right? So again, you get leverage. You get the power of our 23 coordinators now at almost like just a fraction of the price of what it would cost you to hire somebody in to come sit in your office or to be your full-time coordinator, right? A full-time coordinator in the lowest market, it's going to be $40,000, right? And in that situation, you're going to do Indeed ads, you're going to interview, you're going to hopefully hire somebody, you're going to
Mhm.
cross your fingers and hope they understand what transactions even are. Then you're going to have to train them, and then you're going to have to manage them every single day. Where you can come to us, we're going to give you, I think, a link here at the end. We're going to, show
Mm.
you how to, be a client of ours. Like you can sign up today. We'll onboard you tomorrow and Monday, and you're ready to go on, by Monday or Tuesday. But the problem with that other plan is, be like me, I'm really good at real estate. I don't know jack or diddly about engines. So it's like, I'm going to hire you and teach you how to change the spark plugs in my car and just hope for the best, right? Because,
Mhm.
even though we hire very experienced people on our team, right? People who come from title, who come from mortgage, who come from collections, who come from all of those industries, we still have to train them to work with investors, right? Because our business is weird. Again, we're goofy. We're investors. We love to do stuff just a little different. And we love to mix and match strategies. Like, let's do a little bit of
Mix it
sub
up.
two with a little bit of creative rap. And, maybe we're going to leave ourselves an out to do it as a novation, right? Like, we'd love to do wacky things. So, even though I bring in all of these people who, are very high level real estate people, we still have to break it down and go, okay, we're going to show you behind the curtain at the Wizard of Oz, like what the rest of the world does. And some of them are like, oh, you can do that? I guess I've heard of that. Yeah, right. So we spend a lot of time, training and certifying our coordinators before they come out and start working with you.
Well, and I just posted the link in the
Oh
chat.
yeah.
So for anybody who's interested in checking it out,
Mhm.
easy REI closings. You guys, we do not take partnership lightly. David and his group are amazing. We know from experience that they're the best of the best. So we're very picky about who we choose to partner with. And
Yeah, we're,
these
and
guys are
I'm
great.
thank you. You're making me blush now. I appreciate that. When I created this company for me, right? Most probably nobody on this webinar is old enough to remember the old Hair Club for Men commercial. So, hair it was the balding guys, right? The hair plugs. This is probably during the 90s and early 2000s, but showing my 52 years of age here. But, they would do this thing and everybody's talking about their hair plugs, and this guy comes on at the end and he's like, "Hey, not only am I the owner, but I'm a client," right?
Oh,
So
yes.
when I started this business, like, it was built for me, right? And I'm kind of a picky SOB, right? Like, I want it run right. Like, Nationwide Property Liquidators, we were one of the biggest wholesalers in the country when we were operating. So, like, stuff had to be right. Like, we didn't mess around with, doing it halfway. So, that's how this
Mhm.
company started. It was for me and some of my friends, right? Like, some of the investor lift. I know you guys do a lot with investor lift. Some of the cartel bosses, Corey Geary, Nick Perry, um, you know, all of the big guys. So those were our first clients. So, we had to make sure that, one, we were giving, 11 out of 10 service, like, no question, like, we will give exemplary service, because if I was a client and called in and somebody was a horse's butt, like, it would be ugly, right? So we hold them to a very high standard because, like, I'm the client. I get it. I'm you. Like, I just happen to own this company. I would not want to sit and do transactions all day, right? I just hire the best people to do that. So we knew that customer service was a paramount, right? We are here to make the investor's life easier, right? I want you to do more deals. I want you to make more money. I want you to have more freedom. And, I want you to, just be living the life that you got into real estate to do, not chasing paperwork. So we knew that that was important. I knew that, because I was a real investor and I have a big portfolio of rentals and I've done sub two and novations and, all of the different things. I knew that our coordinators had to be certified and really have a deep understanding of every single type of transaction, right? Because real investors do different things every day. They're not just wholesalers, right? We don't do that anymore. We got Pace teaching, sub two, and Jameel doing this, and, Jerry Norton teaching, the MLS method. And, like, so, all of our coordinators have to be well versed in that. And then the third thing is that, you have to know how to do deals in all 50 states. Like, that's really important. And, by we're the only company that has closed deals in all 50 states, and we're, by leaps and bounds bigger than any of the small local people, which is fine. You can certainly use them, but, if you're looking for a solution, where you can literally be any place in the country on any deal, then, that's us. That's what we can do for you.
I want to mention again that the link that I posted in here, you can get up to $500 off
Yes. Yeah.
if
Yep.
you just check it out, take a look, book a call, talk to David directly. It's a great service, you guys. But
Yeah.
going back to something you just said, Rihanna just asked, because you said that you do this in all 50 states, you
Yep.
have to be versed in this. Are there
Uh,
any regulations that you're aware of that are coming out to stop novations in any states?
Not novations. There are definitely some things coming out, for wholesaling. Like, it's going to get to be more of a challenge, and we're already preparing for that, where we have transactional funding, gap funding, hard money funding for our clients, where we can have that as a service. Novations are going to be a little tougher for people to regulate against, because essentially you're really acting, think of it as like an executor for an estate. It's really similar paperwork. So for them to do away with an ovation, they're gonna have to do away with that, right? So could it happen? Yeah, I think sub two is more likely to get regulated far, far quicker than novations. And wholesaling, of course, they're definitely, Jerry Norton's a good friend of mine. Him and Rob Wensley are on the forefront. I know they've done some podcasts with Pace. Wholesaling, they're definitely coming after. And here's why, right? Let's be honest. The great thing about wholesaling the great thing, right, is, to me, it's a great equalizer. Anybody can be a wholesaler, right? I don't care what your education is, your economic background, short, fat, tall, skinny, white, black, purple, whatever it is, right? Everybody can be a wholesaler if you just are willing to put in the work, right? So very, very low barrier of entry, right? If you study enough, watch the right podcasts and take some action, you can be a wholesaler. The bad news about wholesaling, very low barrier of entry, and any goofball can come in here. And unfortunately, there are people who, do things halfway. There are unscrupulous people who unfortunately screw over people. And that's what's drawn some bad attention to us, right? So, I'm fully in lockstep with Jerry Norton that we need some kind of something in our industry to kind of clean up that stuff. So that's why these regulations
Yeah.
are coming up, right? Also, you get a couple realtors who are elected to the state assembly or state senate, and they just have a special place for investors in their heart, and they're passing some of these laws. And the reality is, originally when these laws started happening in like Ohio, the anti-wholesaler law, 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was, like, they were poorly written. You could drive a Mack truck, these laws that were written and passed. But now they're starting to get a little smarter, right? And they're starting to get a little bit better, and they're figuring out like where the loopholes are that we were sort of slipping through. And I'm not telling this to scare anybody. That's not it. I'm just saying you got to do things smarter. I don't think you can do away with wholesaling. I think an assignment of contract is far too baked into common law. I don't think you'll never get away with, or be able to do away with, Amy, you having the right to sell your property without an agent. Like, those are two immutable things that will be there forever. But what they are doing is chopping away at the edges, right? Like the marketing and some of the ancillary things that go around wholesaling. So that's why it's more important than ever to make sure that you understand and are very clear on what the rules are in your individual states or your markets, that you use good words, right? We are never selling a property, we're selling a deal, right? When I'm selling a deal, it's my contract, but if I'm selling a property, I'm acting as a broker. So things like that are definitely very, very important. That was a long answer
I
to
have a
coming for novations. I get
No,
it.
that was a great answer, and I think a lot of people maybe needed to hear that because
No,
it's not to scare you. You're absolutely right. They're just
no,
going to trim a little bit
no.
off on the edges, and
Yeah. No, I'm very
we'll
bullish
all be
on,
okay.
yeah, very bullish on investing. I'm real good friends with Rob Wensley, the owner of Investor Lift, and I get to see the kind of behind the scenes data. It's an amazing time to be an investor right now, right? There's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines.
Oh yes.
It's a great market. It fascinates me that, since I've been doing this from 2010 and been through a couple of market cycles, that people are like, it's a bad time to be an investor, but it was a good time in the height of 2020 when everything was sky high. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
if you could make money then, you don't think you can make money now when people really need to sell their properties and they're having a little bit of a struggle? Like, it's the best time to be an investor is the down times, right? Like, well, you should be out there pulling those lists and calling those people because people are struggling, right? Like, unfortunately, people are having a hard time and there's no buyers out there. So it's a great time to be out in the market, making cash offers, making, creative offers, and doing things like novations where, we can really, as investors, step up and serve the community and solve that need. So very bullish on investing right now, and, being out there and doing it right. So, I mean, love everything that you guys do, and, giving people the opportunity to be able to track those people down by having the right lists.
You just need to be able to put in the work, right? That's
Yeah.
the whole deal is putting in that
It
work.
is, my operations manager, she's amazing. She coined the phrase, if you do the thing works. Just do the thing. Don't go out and recreate the wheel, right? Just do the thing works. It's not complicated at all. Don't, sometimes people are like, I'm gonna redo everything. No, man, plenty of people have paved the way. Like, we can just show
Don't
you how to
reinvent the wheel.
do not reinvent the wheel, right? Just
Exactly.
do the thing.
I'm getting a lot of questions about the process. Once
Sure.
somebody signs
Yeah.
up,
Yep.
do you review and approve the contracts they're using? Do you
Yep.
provide
Yeah.
contracts?
Sure. Great
There's
question.
lots of questions in here.
Yeah. So the process with us is, we're going to give you a code here at the end. You decide you want to sign up today or book a call with us. And if you have more questions. Yeah. So the process is pretty much like immediately after you sign up, you're going to get an email, a welcome email. It's going to have some little videos for you to watch and things that we need to collect from you, right? Because as our client, we're going to need things like your articles of incorporation or your LLC docs, like your wiring instructions. Where do you want us to have money sent, right? All the important things that are very important. But you'll get a call from our client services manager. Her name is Hannah. She is the smartest title person I've ever met. And she is going to schedule a bunch of calls with you, really one call a week for the first month, because we want to make sure that we get you onboarded correctly and we get you up to speed very, very fast. We get those files that you've got over to our team so that we can call Mrs. Smith and start collecting all of that information. Because, one of the things that really sets us apart and makes us different is a lot of times you won't send these contracts to the title company until you've got your end buyer in place. Where we're the opposite, right? We're very front end and very proactive. I want that contract from Mrs. Smith immediately. Like if you signed it 10 minutes ago, I wanted it 9 minutes ago, right? Because I want to get ahead of this ball that's coming down the mountain. I want to collect all that information because maybe it's an easy file, but maybe there's 18 errors, and I'm going to put my running shoes on to track these cats down, right? The cat's on crack. So I need as much time as I can to get ahead of that for you because again, time compression, right? Even on a squirrely weird file, I have to assume that you're going to dispo this property tomorrow so that when you give me that dispo contract, what do you want? Come on, buddy boy, let's close. I'm like, so we've got to be as ready as we possibly can. So whereas, if you're not using a transaction coordinator, maybe you're like, oh, okay, great. I got my buyer, I got my seller. I'm going to, fax these two contracts off to the title company. And then like the questions start, right? Like, oh, is the seller married? Oh, shoot, I don't know. Like this happened to me. I'd be like, oh, I don't know. I go back to my office, like pull the paperwork out. Let me call the seller. Hey, Joe, are you married? No, divorced. I'm like, cool. Hate that for you. Thanks. Back, I call the title company. I'm like, no, Joe's divorced. And they're like, oh, cool. Was he divorced before or after the sale? Or he bought the property? I'm like, Joe, no, I divorced that, whatever, after I bought the property. Cool. Title company divorced her after you bought it. Oh, now we need the divorce decree. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. It's like one question at a time. This is why, working without a transaction coordinator, like, can you do it? Sure, but it's death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? Or you work with somebody who's done 4,000 files. Like we know to ask all those questions up front. So that by the time we send this packet to the title company, they're like, oh, cool, divorce decree, Joe, here's the ex-wife's number, like boom, 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 here it's everything in, so we can get this thing closed very quickly. So to answer the question, yeah, you're going to sign up, you'll get an email, Hannah will call you. We're going to set up a weekly call with you for the first month to make sure that your team understands how to send us a contract, how we operate, how you operate. We want to learn about you and your business. We'll absolutely review your contracts for you. I can't give away contracts. Like I give you my wholesale contract that I use to do 1,600 deals, but I can't give you Pace Morby's contract, right? It's not my contract to give you. I can't give you Eric Brewer's contract. It's not mine to give you. But 100%, let me look at your contracts and we will be happy to say, hey, here's what you should add in, here's what you should take out. Let's tweak this so that you have the best chance for success. So hopefully you're coachable and willing to listen to the people that do all of the deals. But then, you're ready to start submitting deals to us like instantly, right? So there's, this is one of the advantages of working with us. Like you have somebody who is incredibly, organized and in place and like, boom, you can flip the switch tomorrow. And now you've got my team calling, talking to your buyers, talking to your sellers. And it really gives you that, that sense, at least from your buyers and sellers perspective of, oh my God, Joey's got a big team. Like these people really know what they're doing. They're on the ball. They're going to get this thing closed. And that's the type of stuff that really keeps your seller, I don't want to say on the hook, but engaged and moving forward, as opposed to, hey, Mrs. Smith, we're ready to close next Tuesday. Who? What? Well, what are we doing? I forgot you. Like, were you the skinny guy or the big guy? Like, which guy were you? Like, I don't even know.
I apologize to everybody. I thought I was posting the link in the chat, but I just figured out how to do it. So
Oh,
it's up
cool.
there now.
That's, that's
Click
awesome.
the link. Seriously, click the link, check it out. Again, you can get up to $500 off and you will receive this webinar as a replay in your
Sure.
email. I believe we'll also be sending the link to easy REI closings as
Yeah.
well.
So
Um,
here's something that we're going to do, which I didn't tell you guys
yeah.
ahead of time, and I don't never do this, but if you book that link, it's going to take you to a page. There's a little video underneath. There's a little blue box that says book a call. If you book a call today, and I can tell, I'll be able to tell because all this stuff is time stamped. If you book a call today and you become a client of ours, I'm going to also give you our dispositions course. So this is a course. Before I got into doing title, I was one of the biggest dispo courses. I coached all the cartel teams and how to, sell more deals. And I think it's like a 8 module course that really takes you from the beginning to end. on, how to, do dispo at a very high level, how to train up your acquisitions team. So 100%, when you call and talk to, me or Will or any of the people on our team, our customer service team, like mention that, and we'll make sure that when you sign up, you get access to that. So that was something we charged people
Heard it.
$4,500 for. So in the very beginning, plus we'll give you $500 off the, the
It's no
encore.
brainer.
Yeah, yeah,
You click the link, you
yeah.
subscribe, and you get up to $500 off and the dispo course.
Yeah, and
Amazing.
people ask, why would you do that? Well, because I want you to be successful, right? Like I can definitely
That's
keep
the whole
selling
point.
these courses, but I want you to do a lot of deals. If you're the person doing one,
Mhm.
two, 3 deals a month, I want you to do 5, 6, 7, 8, right? It's going to be good for me. It's going to be good for you. I want you to be, doing 10, whatever it is. And that's kind of one of the things that we'll talk about on the phone, right? Is what'd you do last year? Or, what are your plans for this year? What can we do to help? Right. Like, I'll also give you kind of my personal little Rolodex of like the vendors that I use. And, these are the people that kind of like we're doing here that I know are reliable and real people, and they're not gonna screw you over. These are people that are the leaders in the industry. And it's sort of that cheat sheet for setting up your business, right? These are the people that you're going to need, to really grow. And at least, even if you don't want to grow, like I get it, not everybody wants to do 40 deals a month, but at least have a sustainable business. Because, one of the mistakes that I made at the very, very beginning when I was getting started, and this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs and kind of hustlers, it's this little sickness, right? We're entrepreneurs. We all got a little touch of the narcissism. I get it. It's not a bad thing. All right. You're an entrepreneur because your brain works different, right? The things that make you successful, there's good and bad. But the bad side for me was I can do it all, right? I'm the best. Nobody can do it better than me. Nobody's going to care more than me. And the reality is that's not true. Like there are things that I'm really good at. Obviously, talking too much is one of them. But like I'm not good at everything, right? I couldn't set up a PPC campaign to absolutely save my life. Have I done 1,600 deals? Yeah, but like I can't do that. Back in the old days, Chris Chico, one of the old time gurus, coaches, like used to have this very simple postcard. I could not get the template to make this postcard work to save my life. Like there are things I'm great at, but I'm not good at everything. But for a long time, I thought that I had to do everything. And that was the thing that really stunted the growth and, the ability for us to really grow our business was because I was working, 14 hours a day on a short day, 7 days a week. And my half day was Sunday where I work 6 or 8 hours, right? But once I realized that, oh, I could bring somebody in to help me with the different parts of my business, right? Bookkeeping and accounting and property management and, transactions. Well, then, right, then my time was freed up so that I could do the parts of the business that I was good at and the parts that I really loved. And that's when I saw just that, phenomenal growth. And that's when we went nationwide. And that's when we started doing, 25 to 35 deals a month. But you can't do that yourself, right? So if you're serious about growing, you need people like us and batch and bookkeepers and, all of those things. So
I was gonna say you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with, and we are
100%.
thankful to have you as our partner. We're
Sure.
we're very picky about who we partner with,
I
but
know Evo and I talked about this 2 years ago, so it took a long time and a lot of vetting, and that's cool. But we know that Batch has some of the best clients, and a lot of them are our clients too, and we want to work together and help them do more deals and make more money.
well, David, thank you so much for joining us today. Natalie, I did see your message. It says there are no times available to book on the link. We will get that fixed for you
No, yeah,
ASAP
there's
so that y'all can hop
yeah,
on
I,
there.
yeah, a lot of people have been bookings. I tried to have some stuff. If you click to the next week, like there definitely should be, but hold that link. I'll make sure it's probably got booked out really fast, is what it is. So I'll make sure we open some stuff for Friday or for Saturday and for Monday, Tuesday.
We'll get you guys handled.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Give it like
David, thank you
15 minutes, and
again.
I'll make a couple calls.
David, we appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
joining us today. Really,
yeah, it was a lot
really
of fun.
insightful. And thank you to everybody. Yeah, thank you to everybody who joined us today.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Go out and get some contracts, and we'll talk to you soon.